Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Certified Human Resource Business Partner, which is a professional certification that equips HR professionals with strategic skills and competences which are required in order to align human resource managers or management with organizational goals. It emphasizes the transformation from the traditional administrative roles into strategic advisors of organizations. Through Certified Human Resource Business Partnership, HR managers are able to contribute directly to business performance and success. It is expected that upon completion of this course, we will be able to gain deeper understanding of business dynamics, workforce analytics, as well as leadership engagement. With these skills and knowledge, HR managers are able to drive value and enhance employee experience. This certification course underscores the importance of human resource as a key driver of competitive advantage. And with this in mind, we are able to build sustainable success of our organizations in a dynamic business environment. My name is Andrew Ondari. This certification is divided into 6 modules. And module 1, which is our focus today, is Strategic Human Resource Partnership, which is an introduction to human resource business partnership. In the afternoon, we will look at module 2, which is human resource strategy and organizational alignment. Then tomorrow in the morning, we will discuss HR analytics for impact. Later in the afternoon, we shall shift focus to stakeholder engagement and leadership as module 4. Module 5 comes on Friday, which is innovation, agility, and culture change, where HR managers come in strongly as the driver of value in our organizations. And lastly, on Friday afternoon, we will be looking at how we can do action planning and business simulation with regard to human resource business partner. Upon successful completion of these 6 modules, we will be able to get a certification in human resource business partner. However, if you are only interested in one or two modules, then you will get a certificate for that particular module, and this will contribute 1 CPD point as part of the requirements of renewing our practicing certificates. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the 6 modules we shall be covering starting now until Friday. Let us start with module 1, which is Strategic Human Resource Partnership, which is an introduction to Certified Human Resource Partner. By way of introduction, let me say that human resource management has evolved over time from the traditional administrative role concerned with payroll, recruitment and selection, training and development, and record keeping to what we now call strategic partner. By a strategic partner, we mean that the HR managers are able to contribute to the attainment of the corporate objectives of the organization. And this alignment relates to 3 key aspects. 1, the mission. 2, the vision. And 3, corporate objectives or goals. And therefore, as HR managers, we are expected to have a clear understanding of the organizational mission, vision, objectives, and strategy for us to play an effective role as business partners. Thinking of partnership, it's about collaboration. Collaboration with other people, groups, or organizations. Within an organization, HR managers have to work with several other professionals whom I will mention in the next few minutes. And externally, HR managers collaborate or partner with individuals or consultant organizations in order to provide services to our organizations. Then in terms of themes, we are going to cover 2 themes. That is the role of human resource business partner and how it is integrated with the overall business success. It is important for us to understand the roles of HR managers, because without this, then there will be a disconnect. Secondly, we will look at how we can build trust and develop partnerships within and outside the organization. That trust, where people believe in us and expect certain outcomes, is what we are going to look at and how we can develop such kind of trust. And now we want to move to the first part of the program today, that is the role, clarity, and business integration. Allow me to focus on the concept of a partner for purposes of understanding. As I've indicated, a partner is a professional who works closely with other individuals or groups in order to align their activities with organizational objectives. As I have indicated in the highlighted words, that a partner is a professional who works closely with business leaders. Working closely requires that we form a team with other managers and employees in order to achieve a common objective. And the common objective here is organizational objective. And how do we work closely? One, it is through regular interactions, which could be in terms of meetings, so that we are able to share our ideas, our strategies, as well as our human resources to achieve those organizational goals. Secondly, you can work closely through regular communications. This can be daily, weekly, or even monthly, depending on the need. And then speaking of business leaders, these are other managers within or outside our organizations. Within the organization, we work with leaders like finance managers, marketing managers, ICT managers, or operations managers. And then outside the organization, we can work with suppliers. We can work with consultants who could also be suppliers. And we can also work with other organizations from which we learn through benchmarking. So in partnering, we are talking about working with others in order to achieve common objectives. And what is the role of a human resource business partner? He or she is a strategic advisor. That from the HR perspective, we develop HR strategies related to the functions of HR, and I can mention 4 of them. 1, recruitment and selection. 2, training and development. 3, performance management. And 4, compensation and reward management. HR managers formulate strategies around these functions, and they are in a good position to advise other leaders on what to be done, when, and how. As strategic advisors, we align the human resource initiatives with the overall or organizational objectives. And with this advice, we are able to achieve better results for organizational success, as well as a competitive advantage. And then, what is the focus of human resource business partnership? 4 key things, or 3. 1, talent management. 2, performance planning, workforce planning. And 3, performance improvement. talent management has to do with four things. One, attracting talent. Two, developing talent. Three, utilizing talent. And four, retaining talent. And that is the work of a human resource manager. You attract, develop, utilize, and retain. That without this component, we are not able to bring on board high quality employees. Or even if we bring them, we are not able to develop them through training, through mentorship and coaching. And we may not be able to retain them because of the dynamics of organizations which we must take care of. Secondly, on workforce planning, this is a forecast of future human resource requirements and how these requirements can be met. It is a projection into the future by looking at one, trends, and two, environmental changes. This will affect the demand and supply of labor. So when we establish demand and supply, we are able to identify human resource gaps, and based on these gaps, we develop strategies to bridge them, such as where there is a deficit, we prepare a plan of recruitment and selection. Where there is a surplus, we prepare a redundancy plan. And where demand and supply are equal, it means there is equilibrium, then we prepare a retention plan. And then lastly, on the focus is performance improvement. That the employee output and behavior should be improved continuously. And that is why we engage in exercises such as performance appraisals to establish the performance levels of employees and identify areas of improvement. During performance appraisals, we set targets as well as timelines, and we monitor progress. At the end of the performance management cycle, we are able to identify gaps and then seek ways of improving employee performance. So as human resource business partners, our focus should be on talent management, workforce planning, and performance improvement. And by the way, without these three key roles, then we shall have a very difficult time to justify our existence in the organization. That is where the value addition comes in, particularly on performance improvement. And then it is a collaboration between the HR department as well as other managers and employees. That through human resource business partnership, we are able to develop or build strong relationships with other managers and teams. What are the features of a strong relationship? One, it is based on mutual respect. Two, there is reduced conflicts. And three, there is team spirit. And that is why human resource business partners must work with others in order to avoid conflicts, in order to build strong teams, and also to improve performance. And then what's the value of human resource business partnership? Is that we contribute to the performance improvement, talent development, and organizational growth. Performance improvement relates to the enhancement of the results that our employees produce. And these results relate to, one, customer satisfaction, two, reduced cost or efficient resource utilization, three, attainment of targets, and four, attracting more customers. And then on talent development, we are enhancing the skills, knowledge, abilities, and attitudes of our employees. Enhancing the skills, knowledge, abilities, and attitudes. And how do we do this? And I will mention it later. 3 ways or 4. 1, through training. 2, through mentorship. And 3, through coaching. That is how we contribute to talent development. And lastly, on value addition is organizational growth. That an organization is able to grow in 2 or 3 ways. 1, in terms of markets. And by market here, we mean the number of customers that an organization has, or the number of business branches that the organization has opened. So in terms of market, we are looking at 1, the number of customers, and 2, the branches. Then how do human resource managers contribute to this? It is through acquisition of top talent. The second way of growth is through products. And these products cannot grow without innovative personnel. We want innovative people. And again, as HR business partners, how do we contribute to innovation? 1, through recruitment and selection of innovative employees. And this can be determined during interviews. Secondly, we can contribute to innovation through research. We can encourage research in our organizations so that people can make new discoveries. And 3, we can contribute to innovation through rewarding innovation. And that is how organizations can grow in terms of products. Then lastly, what are the skills required of human resource business partners? I've given a few of them. 1 is business acumen. What does this mean? It means a clear understanding of the business or the organization in terms of 1, finance, 2, customers, 3, suppliers, and 4, competitors. That without this understanding, then we cannot play our role as human resource business partners. So in terms of business acumen, we have clear understanding of 4 things. 1, finance, 2, customers, 3, competition, and 4, suppliers, because business revolve around these four key elements. And another skill is analytical thinking. Analytical thinking revolves around data. That as HR managers, we make decisions based on data. We collect, analyze, and interpret data related to recruitment, training, performance, compensation, as well as employee relations. And based on this data, we are able to make informed decisions. And therefore, as a skill, we are required to have analytical skills to establish or identify relationships between or among variables. Then another skill is communication. Communication is not just about passing information from one person or place to another. It can be used as a strategic tool to bring value to the organization. So effective communicators are those who are, one, accurate in their communication, two, timely in their communication, three, relevant in their communication, and four, targeted in their communication, because we don't want to communicate to anybody. It must be targeted. And then lastly, as a skill for human resource business partners is problem solving. That we want to be part of the solutions to problems in organizations. We all face problems at the individual, group, or organizational level, which require solutions. So HR managers are charged with the responsibility of solving problems related to employees. It could be a problem of lack of skills and knowledge. The solution is training. It could be a problem with poor performance. The solution could be mentorship and coaching. It could be a problem with succession. Then the solution could be developing succession plans. So we want to be good decision makers and problem solvers. So problem solving is about identifying a problem, generating alternative solutions, implementing the selected solutions, and reviewing the effectiveness of those solutions that were implemented. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our brief introduction to human resource business partner. Next is the types of HR partners that we have to work with, because human resource business partnership is about working with others very closely to achieve organizational goals. So who are these partners? One is the senior management. The senior managers, I can categorize them into two, depending on your organization. One, this is the board. And two, the CEO stroke MD. These are people who allocate resources. These are people who formulate strategy. These are people who provide direction to the organization. And then we must work in partnership with these people. Why do we need to work in partnership? One, to obtain their support, especially when we want to bring any changes in human resource management. And secondly, to allocate resources to the initiatives like training and development or benchmarking. Without their blessings, then we may find difficult to operate as HR managers at that strategic level. So by working closely with senior management, we are able to demonstrate the value that human resource management brings to the table at the highest level. Secondly, we have line managers. These are managers in different departments, such as finance, ICT, marketing, or production, depending on the organization you are working for. So we must again work closely with this. Why? Because there is need to address team performance, development, and workforce performance. Why team performance? It is because a failure in any of the departments demonstrates a failure in the organization. And therefore, at all times, we must work closely with line managers to ensure that we succeed as an organization and not as compartmentalized departments. So we want to work as a team because through teamwork, we create synergy, where the combined effort of two or more people produce better or more results. And again, we are quickly reminded that human resource managers are people and culture managers. And one of the core values of culture is teamwork. This must be seen to work not only in HR departments, but also in all other departments. Then secondly, we talk about development, which, as I indicated earlier, is enhancement of individual skills, knowledge, and abilities. So we need to partner with line managers for two reasons. One, to identify training needs for development. And two, to implement the training, because we want to work with these managers during implementation. And even during evaluation of the effectiveness of the training, it's the line managers who will give us a report on how well the employees are performing after the training. And lastly, we work with line managers for workforce planning. How does this come in? These are the people who identify gaps. Gaps in terms of numbers of employees required, and also gaps in terms of skills and knowledge. So that if there are gaps in numbers, we are able to identify or develop plans like recruitment and selection in order to bridge the numbers so that we have the right number of people at the right places. On skill gaps, line managers are able to identify employees who are not performing as a result of lack of skills and knowledge. And when we develop training programs, they are based on training needs analysis, which have been established by line managers. Another type of partner is employees. Here we are looking at partnering between human resource managers as individuals and employees in different departments. Why do we need to partner with our employees? As I have indicated there, is to enhance engagement. Engagement refers to the emotional attachment and perception of employees of the organization. A detached employee is not engaged. And that is why we need to partner with them. Why? They will tell us the reasons why they are disengaged so that we can develop interventions so that we can engage them better. Through engagement, we are able to motivate staff and retain them. So this is a continuous partnership that never comes to an end until the employee exits the organization. Secondly is employee well-being. This is the mental, physical, and emotional health of our employees. That we must be ready, willing, and available to develop a holistic employee. That a well-developed employee is a better performer than one who is not. So what are the elements of employee well-being that we need to initiate so that we can enhance this partnership? One is sports facilities. We want our employees to be physically healthy. Number two, buddy system, where we partner employees for purposes of mutual support. Without this psychosocial support system, our employees may start having mental health problems. And that is why we need to have a buddy system. And then number three, as part of well-being, is employee counseling. Not all employees can manage challenges or burnout effectively. And that is where mental health comes in. We should be able to initiate counseling services so that employees lead a healthy life. Remember, I said well-being has to do with three things. One, mental health. Two, physical health. And three, emotional health. So when we partner with the employees, we are able to develop and sustain their well-being. Then lastly, the reason for partnering with the employees is career growth. Employees need to advance in their careers within our organizations. That somebody who started off as a junior HR officer should grow within HR department, possibly to become HR director. This career can be enhanced in several ways. One, through training. Two, through mentorship and coaching. And three, through stretch assignments. In developing employee careers, we are able to attract and retain top talent. Another type of HR partner is HR centers of expertise. I want to believe that in our organizations, we have different units within the HR function, different units. For example, L&D, that is learning and development. Two, employee relations. And three, staffing. These are specialist areas in which employees can be specializing. For example, we may have a specialist in learning and development, so that when we are developing training programs, for example, we are able to target specific needs of employees in learning and development. So this helps us to tap into the skills, knowledge, experience, and abilities of our employees in different units within HR. And this is what I have called HR centers of expertise. That these are units managed by experts, and therefore we are able to benefit from their expertise within the HR function. And lastly, there are many other types of HR partners, finance and operations team. We work with the finance for purposes of budgeting. As HR managers, we develop budgets for the year. For example, training budget, recruitment budget, performance management budgets, as well as rewards, which are budgeted for. We work closely with finance officers or department so that we develop a unified budget that will be approved by the senior management of the organization. And secondly, we work with finance and operations for purposes of productivity. Productivity is what is produced over time. That's the output of employees over time. So we need to look at outputs in terms of 1, revenue generation, 2, profits, in case you are in a private sector organization, which profit-oriented, or 3 is shareholder value. Those of us who are using a balanced scorecard perhaps have understood that there are 4 parameters in the balanced scorecard. 1, the finance aspect. 2, the customer aspect. 3, internal processes. And 4, future growth. Speaking of finance, this is where we need aspects of productivity and operational efficiency, where we are talking about revenue generation, profit making, and shareholder value. And then operational efficiency, this is optimal utilization of resources. Which resources are we referring to here? 1, human resources. 2, financial resources. And 3, physical resources. These resources must be used efficiently. Efficient utilization means that we reduce the cost of operation or optimize our operational expenses. And therefore, as HR managers, we have financial, human, and physical resources that we must utilize efficiently. So those are the key types of human resource partners that we work with in our organizations. However, as I mentioned earlier, we can also work with others outside the organization. And I mentioned consultants who could be individual consultants or organizations. So we need to partner with this in terms of 1, initiating training programs, 2, performance appraisals, 3, benchmarking, or 4, identifying best practices through benchmarking. So these are the many types of HR partners that we have to work with in human resource business partnership. Before we take a short break for questions, I want us to move to the others. But just before that, I've seen something here which can be of help to all of us. External stakeholders, we are talking about consultants, training providers, and the last one is regulatory bodies. I want to address regulatory bodies because these are institutions which regulate the employment relationship. For example, in the HR profession, we are regulated by IHRM, This body provides the standards of operation which HR managers must adhere to. And therefore, we have to partner with them because they are the certifying bodies. For us to continue working as HR managers, we must be registered with IHRM and also obtain a practicing certificate. And that is the reason why we need to work with our regulator, that is IHRM. There are other regulators like NEMA, that is National Environment Management Authority. And in our organization, we produce waste. So we need to partner with such an organization to ensure that our waste is disposed of in the designated places. There are many other regulators which we work with for purposes of ensuring that we are compliant. We know from experience that non-compliance has consequences. 3 in particular. 1, lawsuits. 2, fines. And 3, penalties. So if we don't work with these regulators, the other regulator could be the Office of the Data Protection Commission. We need to work with them as well so that when we are storing employee data in our cloud system, they are aware. And if there are any breaches, we report because that is a regulatory body. Then next is emergence of human resource business partnership. What is this that has led to the shift toward human resource business partnership? Quite a number of factors, which I'll mention. One is a change or a transformation from being an administrator to strategic partner. As I mentioned in my introduction, that HR has gone through a transformation from the traditional administrative role to strategic partnership. That in business partnership, we contribute to the attainment of the corporate objectives and strategies. Without this partnership, then our organizations cannot succeed. Business success is measured in terms of many things. I can mention 3. 1, revenue generation. 2, customer satisfaction and experience. And 3, competitiveness. That we cannot be competitive, we cannot give customer experience, or we cannot generate revenue if HR managers are not strategic in approach. As I will mention shortly, there is the mindset of a human resource business partner. And one of the mindsets is strategic mindset, that you think long-term and develop initiatives that will achieve organizational success. Secondly, is the need for business alignment. That traditionally, HR managers were taken to be operational roles, which were basically a shared service. And now there is a new realization that whatever we do as HR managers must be aligned with business goals and objectives. This alignment ensures that the HR initiatives help or support the attainment of the corporate goals. For instance, when we engage in recruitment, it must be related to a corporate objective. For example, if the corporate objective is to increase revenue by 20%, we engage in recruitment. We are recruiting people so that we can attain the 20% revenue increment. The same goes with training and development, performance management, compensation and reward. All these HR functions must be aligned with the corporate objectives. Without this alignment, there will be a drift. A drift is a deviation, that HR is deviating from the corporate goals and objectives. And the moment we deviate, just like a plane, if it deviates from the radar, the next thing that you will hear is a plane crash. We don't want to crash the plane, which is our organization or our department as HR. We want everything to work in tandem with the business requirements. Another factor that has led to business partnership is global competition. Today, organizations are operating in a global economy where we are competing with the other players, not only within our countries, but also outside our boundaries, be it in the East African region, West Africa, North Africa, Europe, Asia, America, and elsewhere. We compete. We compete for two main things. One, employment or employees, and two, customers. That if we are not competitive, especially in employment, then our competitors might take our top talent through poaching or through headhunting. So we must up our game by way of business partnering within, and like I said, outside the organization with other players, so that we can enhance our strengths. Another factor that has led to the emergence of business partnership is technological advancements. As HR managers, we operate in technological space. And this space is characterized by two main things. One, automation, and two, utilization of AI, that is artificial intelligence. For example, routine tasks in HR, such as preparation of advertisements during recruitment, can now be automated by use of AI or any other technology. Or two, record keeping, that we can capture employee records and put them in a digital form, which is easier and convenient to retrieve. So with these technological advancements, we have to enhance our business partnership, that at the touch of a button, we are able to communicate or share information or strategies with other partners. So there's no excuse today to delay sharing of information or acquiring information. And therefore, business partnership has been enhanced through technological improvements. And then another factor is the focus on talent and performance. Talent relates to the skills, knowledge, experience, and abilities of employees. In other quarters, talent relates to employees themselves. But you cannot talk of employees without skills, knowledge, and experience. So we are talking about focus on talent as a central strategy in business partnership. That in talent, we are talking about attracting, utilizing, developing, and retaining skilled, knowledgeable, experienced, and people with positive attitude. For performance, we are talking about output of employees in terms of results and behavior. And this cannot be achieved if we don't partner with the people that I mentioned earlier, like top management, line managers, employees, HR expert centers, as well as external stakeholders. With all these partnerships, we are able to improve our performance. And therefore, HR organizations need leaders who are able to drive productivity and talent development. Again, allow me to mention one key thing, that traditionally, the human resource component was considered to be an operational function. And therefore, they could not participate in strategy formulation and the development of the organizations. But as HR managers changed over time, there is now a realization that employees are the drivers of productivity. That without qualified human resources, our organizations cannot be productive. And therefore, there is a shift towards productivity and talent development. And when we are developing talent, it must be targeted talent development. That we are moving away from the generalist approach to human resource to specialized approach, so that people have a deep understanding of their role, either as employee relations managers or learning and development managers. So through this targeted or individualized development, we are able to achieve superior results. And then the last factor leading to the emergence of business partnership is the evolving leadership expectations. That HR managers are expected to provide solutions to organizations. And for us to do that, we need to partner with others so that we move as a team. And how do we do that? We need to provide data, driven insights based on data analytics. And where do we get the data from? We can obtain data through surveys, through interviews, through focus groups, or through observations related to various HR functions. So that when we are talking about employee training, we train people based on data. And this data may be related to performance gaps. So who are these employees who are not performing due to lack of skills and knowledge? So using that data, we are able to provide insights on which areas the employees should be trained on. With that, I want to invite questions based on what we have covered, starting with the introduction, that is introduction to human resource business partnership. Secondly, types of human resource partners. And 3, emergence of human resource business partnership. The floor is ours. Please ask your question or make your comment. Any volunteer to make a comment? Alice Luangu, if you are there, please ask your question or make your comment. Fine. Neptune, kindly ask your question or make a comment. Thank you. I believe we are all listening. We now move to the next part, and that is the roles and responsibilities of a HR business partner. That for us to be effective business partners, we need to play certain roles. And these roles are many. I've zeroed in on 6 key roles, starting with strategic partnering. In this role, the HR manager has to ensure that the initiatives such as recruitment, training, performance management, as well as compensation and rewards are supporting the attainment of organizational goals and strategy. And how do we do this business partnering? It is by developing strategies related to those functions and having a conversation with the top managers on how these initiatives will contribute to the success of the organization. So we make a case for the human resource initiatives in terms of their contribution to the overall business goals and strategy. And that is why we sit in those strategic meetings in order to share our insights with other managers to ensure that HR management is incorporated into the corporate strategy. Without this linkage, there will be little to indicate that we are supporting the attainment of business strategy and goals. So it's our responsibility and it's our role to partner with others, strategic partnering. And then talent management, I indicated, refers to attracting, developing, utilizing, and retaining talent. And how do we go about this in this role? We must prepare human resource plans. There are many plans that we can prepare going forward in relation to talent management. One is recruitment and selection plans to address areas of deficit. 2, recruitment and rather training and development plans where there are possible skill gaps due to changes in technology or other environmental variable. 3, we prepare another plan in the form of succession. where we prepare lower level employees to occupy senior positions. And how do we go about this? We must identify employees with potential. And who are the employees with potentials to succeed others? These are the skilled, knowledgeable, experienced, and people with the right abilities. Otherwise, without this potential, then succession planning becomes difficult. What happens in case there are no people with potential for succession? We start preparing employees through training, through mentorship, through coaching, and through team assignments. And then development initiatives, sorry, is to do with training and development, coaching and mentorship, so that employees can enhance their skills for two reasons. One, to enhance their careers, and two, to improve performance. Thirdly, we are consultants. A consultant is an expert in a particular area of specialization. HR managers are experts and therefore qualified to be consultants. And consultants provide solutions to problems or new insights in the management of people and other resources. So as consultants, we provide expert advisory. As I mentioned in the introduction, that a business partner is a professional who works with others by way of advising or developing insights to improve performance. So our role as experts is to advise the leadership of the organization in relation to people issues. So what are the people issues? One, recruitment and selection. Two, training and development. Three, performance management. Four, reward and compensation. Five, employee relations. And last, health and safety. So as consultants, we advise other managers on those issues. Another role is change management, that we are able to introduce, implement, and monitor changes in an efficient and effective way. So, how do we ensure that change is managed effectively? I can mention three ways. One, involvement and consultation. Two, training people about the change. And three, communicating the change and how it will affect people. Without effective change management, we run the risk of resistance to change. People resist to change because they are unaware of the change, they were not involved, or the change process was not handled well. And therefore, HR managers have become change agents, that is, facilitators of change. There are many changes that are taking place in our organizations. For example, structural change. Two, strategic change. Three, policy change. And four, system change. We need to manage this change well so that there are no shockwaves in our organization. Because some changes are disruptive, and therefore the need to handle these changes professionally and in an efficient and effective way. Another responsibility is workforce analytics, where we are making decisions based on data. We collect data all the time about employees in relation to recruitment, training, among others. We analyze this data to identify one, trends, or two, patterns or changes over time. And once we identify patterns and changes, we are able to forecast future scenarios and take measures to avoid risks. So today we talk about human resource analytics, where we collect, analyze, interpret data that help us to make informed decisions. The other role is coaching. We are coaching people within our departments as well as other departments on what? On people management and performance improvement. That as HR managers, we may be more experienced, more knowledgeable, and more skilled on how to manage people. So when we talk to other line managers, we can share our insights and our experiences on people management. And in some cases, we are called upon to coach others on people management. So we must be able to manage people effectively, one, through communication, two, through conflict resolution, three, through emotional intelligence, and four, soft skills. So these people management skills enable us to coach others, and that is our responsibility. The other aspect related to business partnership is HR competencies. What are these competencies? These are the skills, the knowledge, experience, and abilities that make a person to perform a task or complete it effectively. Those of us who work in public sector organizations perhaps have come across this through the Public Service Commission manual, where we are talking about 3 or 4 competencies. 1, core competencies. 2, technical competencies. 3, operational competencies. And 4, leadership competencies. So a combination of all these competencies make a human resource manager to be an effective business partner. So particularly in relation to business partnership, what are these competencies that HR managers must have? I've mentioned 6. 1 is business understanding, which I said is business acumen or acumen. So we must have knowledge of strategy, as in what are the strategies of the organization that must be achieved. These strategies may relate to 1, finance, 2, marketing, 3, ICT, 4, human resource, or 5, operations. So we must understand the direction of the organization. If it's about customer, there could be a strategy related to customer, which could be something like this: enhancing customer satisfaction or increasing customer satisfaction by 50%. So how do we go about enhancing customer satisfaction? From the human resource perspective, a customer must be happy. And therefore, what are the expectations of a customer for them to be happy? 1, quality service. Who offers quality service? It's the employees. So what are the ingredients of an employee who can offer quality service? He or she should be skilled, knowledgeable, experienced, and have effective business communication. And therefore, understanding of customer experience requires that we also understand the business strategy. We also need to understand operations, the day-to-day activities of an organization, and that revolves around production of goods and services. So in operations, we must understand 2 key things. 1, resource utilization in terms of finance and physical resources. And 2, in terms of time, the time taken to produce quality goods or services. So when we have a clear understanding of the operations of an organization, we are able to optimize resources. And lastly, for us to understand business, we also need to understand industry dynamics. These are changes in the industry in which we operate. If you are a government organization, you know what happens in government or other government institutions. If you are in private sector like NGO sector, you are able to understand the changes in the NGO sector. For instance, today, most NGOs are struggling to attract funding, particularly from the US, because of the US policies on funding of those NGOs. So we must rethink our funding models so that we are able to survive. And those of us in profit-making organizations, we must understand 3 key players. 1, the suppliers. 2, the competitors. And 3, the customers. When we bring that down to HR, we must understand the customer. Who are our customers? The first customers are internal customers, who are our fellow employees. Secondly, we must understand our competitors. What are our competitors doing differently and which we can improve on or become better so that we remain competitive in terms of human resources? So as business partners, we must have a clear and deep understanding of industry dynamics related to competition, customers, and suppliers. Another competency is consulting skills. We said a little earlier that one of the roles of a HR business partner is consultancy. You are an advisor, and you advise people based on your skills, experience, and knowledge of HR, both within and outside. So we can use your expertise to advise. senior managers, and line managers. And that is why we need to be well grounded in the management of people and culture in our organizations. That's the only way we can be thought of being credible and can influence decisions. The other competence is change leadership. That as HR managers, we provide leadership when it comes to change. And how do we provide leadership? We ensure that one, employees understand what the change is about. Two, inform employees of their roles in this change process. And three, argue the case for the change so that we can align ourselves with corporate objectives. And for that reason, we HR managers guide transformation initiatives. There are many things that we transform in the HR department. One, policies. Two, processes. Three, systems. And four, procedures. I repeat, policies, processes, procedures, and systems. And therefore, in change management, we ensure that our policies, systems, processes, and procedures are aligned. If they are not, then we change them. Another competency is analytical thinking. As I mentioned earlier, we handle a lot of data related to the employees. So what do we do with this data? We interpret this data in terms of implications. That if there is a trend in terms of employee turnover, that there is high staff turnover in the last 5 years, what do we interpret this data to mean? It may mean that there are certain conditions within the organization that do not support retention of employees. Retention. And that's why they are leaving. And then we must make a decision. Why are these employees leaving? We identify the reasons and implement initiatives to reduce turnover. So we must be analytical thinkers so that we can play our role effectively as business partners. The other one is relationship management. That HR management is relational. We relate with people within and outside our departments. How we create and maintain this relationship is what will inform the quality of our relationship. And this can only be done through building of trust and collaboration. So how do we build trust? One, we do not overpromise. Two, we deliver on our promises. Three, fidelity to the policy and the law. And four, confidence in what we are doing. In this way, we are able to build trust. And that trust will enhance our relationship with others. Then collaboration, we say that business partnership is about collaboration or working with others. So how do we work with others? Regular communication, regular meetings, uh, and also participation and consultation where need arises. Lastly, another competence is problem solving. We face challenges, big and small, and we must address them. Small challenges may spiral to be big challenges. We should not ignore even the smallest challenges. In risk management, a small risk which can easily be ignored may soon balloon to be a crisis. And that is why, as HR managers, we cannot afford to ignore any challenge, however small it may be. So in problem solving, we identify the problem, we analyze the problem in terms of sources and impact, we develop alternative solutions, we implement the most suitable solution, and we monitor. That is how we can become effective business partners. I promise that we will look at the mindset of a human resource business partner. And these are the mindsets that we should all have. There could be more, but I've zeroed in on 6. One is the strategic mindset, where we are talking about how HR initiatives can help to support the attainment of business goals and strategy. So that mindset requires us to think long term. That in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where will be the HR department? Where will be the business? And we are able to provide insights on how we can handle some of the future changes. And that is why we need, as HR managers, to be futuristic in approach. There is a program that we offer as HRBP called Futures Leadership Management, Futures Leadership. That as HR managers, we are thinking about the future, and that is how we can be strategic. Secondly, another mindset is partnership, that we must always work with other people. One, that we do not have the monopoly of knowledge. Two, that we achieve better results by working with others. And 3, we obtain insights from others on how we can work differently or better. So through this partnership, we are able to work together collaboratively to achieve better or more results. And that is the precise reason why we are here today to discuss human resource business partnership, a partnership mind. Allow me again to mention something to do with trade unions, which for many years have been regarded as adversaries or enemies. The moment you consider another person or a group as an enemy, it makes it difficult to partner. So today, HR managers are cognizant of the beauty and the benefit of working with trade unions to achieve superior results. So we need to partner with the trade union and not to consider each other as enemies or trade unions as troublemakers. Thirdly, change and agility. Change is a constant. It happens all the time. And as Karl Marx once upon said, that everything in the world changes except change, and that is why it is a constant. And for that reason, we must adapt quickly to changes in our environment, be it internal or external environment. Internally, we may have changes like structural changes, 2, system changes, 3, strategic changes, and 4, policy changes. And if there are such changes, we must have a mindset of change, that we must always expect change and be proactive in the way we manage it. And then on agility is the ability to adapt quickly to change. HR managers cannot afford to be rigid. The moment you become rigid, you'll do things the traditional way and find yourself overtaken by events or even by a competition. We need to be careful to ensure that our policies, our systems, our processes and procedures are agile. So how do we do that? We review them on a continuous basis so that we are able to identify gaps and bridge them as quickly as possible. Next is data-driven mindset, that, as I have mentioned, we make decisions based on data. Data related to recruitment, training, performance management, transfer, succession planning, and even termination of employment. So we use data analytics to provide insights on how we can make informed decisions, which is based on evidence. Data is evidence, and when there is this evidence, we can make informed decisions without fear or without favor. So if it's an employee who has not performed well and action has to be taken, especially after PIP, we have all the data. That data can be used to make a decision of terminating the contract, so that even if the employee goes to court, we already have data that can be presented before court. So every time we do anything, we must have data, data-driven mindset. And then the other one is accountability and integrity, that we must be responsible for our own actions as well as the actions of others and as well as results. Answerable. We must not look for scapegoats. We must not point fingers. If things do not work within our departments, we must take responsibility or own up. Owning up does not mean that you are weak. You are accepting mistakes and that improvements can be made. Then integrity is behaving in a manner that is acceptable. And for that reason, ethical judgment is important. Professionalism is important. So what are these ethical and professional issues that we talk about in accountability and integrity? One, confidentiality. That if there is information that is confidential, we should not share it with third persons or parties. Secondly is honesty. Honesty is an ethical factor where we tell the truth as it is. Because even in Kiswahili they say, njia ya mwongo ni fupi. So if you want to survive for a long time, we must learn to tell the truth as it is. We should not sugarcoat anything. Then lastly is growth and learning mindset. I mentioned the balance scorecard as a tool for strategic management. And there are 4 components in the balance scorecard: the finance aspect, the customer perspective, the internal growth and learning, and lastly, internal processes. So growth and learning is one of the components in the balanced scorecard, where we are talking about employee growth in terms of positions and also learning in terms of skill development. So as HR managers, we must have a mindset of employees growing in terms of position, and that is why we develop career plans as well as succession plans. And then for learning, we develop mentorship, coaching, and training programs so that our employees can remain agile, informed, and productive. So those are the mindsets that we need to develop as business partners. Next is the importance of role clarity. You remember our subheading here is role. If I may take us back, roles and responsibilities of our HR business partner. We are trying to understand that role, and that is why we have indicated what are the competencies for us to play that role and what is the mindset for us to play that role. So why is it important for us to be clear on our roles as business partners? One is reduction of conflict. That by working with others, we minimize conflicts or confusion. How? We are able to discuss issues and also agree on the way forward with other partners. Unlike when HR managers are working in silos and they do not understand what is happening in other departments. So we must work together, break the silos, and work as a team so that we reduce conflicts. Secondly is improved collaboration, that by working together, we promote high levels of teamwork and also productivity. And by the way, modern organizations cannot afford to work alone. We must work with other players in the industry. And that's why we talked about external stakeholders. We can work with the research organizations. We can work with regulators. We can work with consultants. And all these help us to improve not only the organization, but also improve our economy through job creation. Then enhanced communication, that when people work together collaboratively, they are able to understand the reasons why they are coming together and also how to move forward as a team. That we cannot achieve success if we do not work together. And the fabric that unites partners is communication. The moment there is a breakdown in communication, things start falling apart, if I may quote Chinua Achebe. Then another purpose of role clarity is that we are able to make a contribution to the attainment of corporate strategy. We are consultants, and therefore we are able to contribute to strategy formulation and implementation. I indicated that consultants are experts, and experts advise. Advise on matters human resource, and we make a contribution to the overall attainment of corporate objectives and strategies. Second last is leadership support, that by working with others, we are able to support the leadership of the organization. How do we do that? One, by preparing succession plans so that at no one time we run dry of successors who are suitable. Secondly, we keep a pipeline of qualified leaders that in the event we need leadership in any field, we have employees who are adequately prepared to occupy those positions. And three, we contribute to leadership support by way of training and development through mentorship, through coaching, and other learning programs. Then lastly, why we need to have the role clarity is organizational agility, where we are able to adapt quickly to changes in our environment. That we cannot respond quickly unless we are working in partnership with others. These partners are able to identify changes, and we are able, as a team, to work together to address those changes, and that promotes organizational agility. Before we take another break, I want us to look at the core principles of strategic partnership. One is alignment. As I mentioned, that every initiative that we make in HR must be supporting the attainment of corporate strategy. Whether it's recruitment, align it with corporate strategy. What are we achieving? If it's training, that we are training employees at the junior level, mid-level, or senior management, it must be aligned. What is our corporate plan? Why are we training people? And then secondly is proactivity, that HR managers are not reactive. And those of us who have read the 48 rules of power, that leaders are proactive, they don't react. If you become reactive, then you are not a strategic thinker. We need to proactively see changes in our environment and take measures now to address those changes. For instance, organizations are moving towards adoption of AI. So with this AI, what are we going to do with our employees? We must take them for training so that they can acquire data analytics skills for them to use this AI effectively. Or if we are going to automate HR operations, what does that imply? Proactively, we are saying that in the next few years, we are going to need fewer employees. And what happens to the existing employees? We may have to release them or upskill or retool them so that they are able to deal with this new technology. What happens to the traditional roles of employees in organizations like accounting? It's going to change. So we are going to do a redesigning of jobs, considering that people will be working from home. So home working would be the next big thing, so that we cut cost on transport, cost on time, cost of water, cost of electricity. That's a proactive thinker. And then, as I have indicated, all decisions are data-driven. That we need to collect data, store it, share, and also disseminate it at the right time, at the right places, with the right people. Collaboration. Business partnership is about collaboration, working with other departments so that we work as a team and we are able to grow as an organization when we embrace collaboration. Value creation is about improvement of the organization in terms of products, in terms of customers, or in terms of markets. If I may talk about products, we need innovative people who can create new products. And we can only do this by identifying creators or creative people in different departments. HR managers as a department cannot identify these creative people alone. We must work with others. So creativity creates value, and that is the more reason we need to work together. That when people pull together their energy, their effort, their skills, their knowledge and experience, they produce better results. Lastly is continuous improvement. That human resource business partnership is about continuous improvement of the business. If it's products, we continuously improve. Systems, we continuously improve. Processes, we continuously improve. And HR manager must be part of this continuous improvement. And then lastly, for the questions, how do we transform human resource management into business partnership roles? A few things. One, skill enhancement. That for us to play our roles effectively as business partners, we must enhance our own skills. And how do we do that? We join training, coaching, and mentorship programs so that we are able to strengthen our HR competencies in terms of analytics, strategy, and communication. Secondly is structural change. In structural change, we are thinking about three things. One, the roles of employees. Two, the job descriptions. And three, the organogram, that is the organizational structure. Most private organizations are moving away from bureaucratic structures to more broad-based and flat structures. Why? It is because of the need to cut on cost and improve efficiency and effectiveness. That delayering is a structural change. So we need to redefine HR functions in this new way of doing business of delayering. So what will be our new function? It will be of strategic partnership, it will be of decision making, it will be of critical thinking, and it will be of emotional intelligence. So if AI is also going to change this structure, then we must move away from the traditional HR functions of recruitment and training to more of strategic thinking and more of critical thinking and analytics. Then we need to integrate technology into our systems. And I believe most of our organizations have transitioned from the manual systems to digital systems such as human resource information systems. And this helps us to make decisions more effectively and more accurately. There are other digital systems like document management systems, learning management systems, and performance management systems. This can be embedded in the ERPs, that is enterprise resource planning, or in the human resource management systems. With this technological transition, we are able to play our role more effectively. I've mentioned something about leadership support, that for us to transform HR into that business partner, HR top managers must always be supportive. And how do we ensure that they support us? One, by demonstrating the linkage between HR initiatives and corporate strategy. Two, by ensuring that HR contributes to organizational success. And how do we do that again? It is by embracing analytics and metrics, where every initiative in our organization is measured. For example, we measure the effectiveness of recruitment and selection. 2, measure training. 3, measure performance. So these analytics help us to gain support from the top management. Then lastly, value measurement, where we are going to use either financial or non-financial metrics to measure the success of human resource managers. And then on that note, I want to invite questions from any one of us related to what we have discussed, and that is 1, mindsets for business partners. 2, role of clarity. And 3, 4 principles. Sorry, let me take us back. Core principles of strategic HR partnership. And then lastly, how we can transition or transform HR into business partnership. So anybody with a question or a comment to make, please go ahead. A question, please, or your comment. Fine. If there's no question or comment, I want us to move to the next slide, and that is how we can integrate business partnership into business strategy, human resource business partner into corporate strategy. 1 is participation in planning, and I believe this is what we have been doing in the recent past, that where there are top managers meeting, the HR manager must also be part of the meeting so that we can plan together. If human resources are the most important asset of the organization, then we must participate in this planning. We cannot afford to be left out. And for us to be that strategic partners, we need to participate in planning. So annual plans are formulated, or sometimes long-term strategic plans. We must be part of this so that we are able to make a contribution to the attainment of our strategies. Secondly is business literacy, where we are enhancing the knowledge, skills, and experience of HR managers about business. So we must understand the finances of the organization, the markets, the customers, that is markets, the suppliers and competitors. And that is what we call business acumen, understanding of our business from the financial perspective, customer perspective, competitor perspective, and market perspective. So through this understanding, we are able to strengthen our position as strategic advisors. Another way of integrating HR into business strategy is talent pipeline, where we make deliberate efforts to prepare succession plans by identifying employees with potential, so that during our strategic planning meetings, we are able to contribute to the success of the organization. Another way is performance alignment, where employee objectives are aligned with the corporate objectives by setting those clear, measurable, attainable KPIs. that if we want to enhance, for example, customer satisfaction by 20%, what will be our KPI as employees? One could be reduction of customer complaints. So if the complaints are reduced, then customer satisfaction increases. So the employees must work on reduction of customer complaints. Or if it's communication, it should be accurate, timely, and relevant for those of us who communicate with customers. So these individual employee objectives should be aligned with corporate objectives by setting clear KPIs. And then second last is change enablement, that as HR business partners, we are change agents, that is, we facilitate change management. So how do we facilitate change? Three ways in which I've already mentioned. One, training people to manage the change. Two, communicate the change. And three, involve people in the change process. Lastly, like I mentioned, one of the principles is measurement. We need to continuously evaluate the effectiveness of HR strategies. It's by way of using those analytics and metrics related to recruitment, training, performance management, among others. And then determine how well they are aligned with the corporate strategies as well as the changing business environment. What are the key pillars of strategic HR partnership? Talent management, where we said it's about attracting, developing, and retaining top talent. I've highlighted top talent. What are the features? One, skilled. Two, knowledgeable. Three, experienced. And four, positive attitude. That we cannot compete successfully if we don't have that top talent. And this talent, for us to achieve that competitive advantage, should be unique, should be inimitable, and should be rare. Where we have this top talent, then effort must also be made to retain them. Otherwise, they will be stolen by the competitors. Secondly, another pillar is leadership development, where we are not only developing people in HR department, but also in other departments to drive performance and transformation. Where we have adequate leaders, then we can sustain our organization for a long time in the face of adversity. And that is called resilience. Organizations cannot be resilient if they do not have adequate numbers of leaders who are also qualified. Performance management, like I have indicated in terms of the previous slide, where I mentioned performance alignment on bullet 4, we are saying that as a pillar, we must align goals at two levels. One, individual level, and two, departmental level. So these two must be aligned with the corporate objectives. Change management is about smooth transitions, and I've mentioned it before. Workforce planning is about forecasting future HR requirements and how these requirements can be met. And the main objective of workforce planning is to ensure that the organization obtains, retains, and utilizes the right number of people doing the right things in the right way at the right time. Everything must be right. The moment you have the wrong people, then you are not a good business partner. They must do the right jobs or roles. That's why we need to design jobs and allocate jobs to people who are qualified, the right roles, people doing the right jobs. And then employee engagement, making sure that there is an emotional and a psychological connection between employees and the organization. We can achieve this by motivating people. And what are the motivating factors? 1, competitive rewards. 2, promotion on merit. 3, conducive work environment. Challenges. What are the challenges that HR business partners face as they play their role? 1 is role confusion, especially in organizations where the role of HR is still administrative in nature. But as I have indicated, we must show up as HR managers and play a strategic role. But again, that does not mean that we do not perform those administrative roles like recruitment, training, and others. So the balance between strategic and administrative roles can be a challenge. Secondly, is resistance to change. People resist changes, especially changes in relation to jobs, structures, systems, and policies. As I indicated, human resource business partners must be agile in terms of policies, systems, and processes. So when this agility is implemented, it implies change. So people can resist change. The other one is data limitation, where there is insufficient data on the basis of which decisions can be made. Why some organizations even lose cases in court is because they do not have adequate data to back up their arguments, especially on matters disciplinary. Even a formal oral warning must be documented, and that document becomes part of data, which can be used to make a decision, for example, on termination. So without these documents, then we will be relying on hearsay, which is very difficult to defend. Second, another one is resource constraints, particularly human and financial resources. There is no organization in the world that has unlimited resources. Human resources are limited or finite. They're not infinite. And for that reason, we need to optimize the utilization of our resources. In many cases, organizations struggle, especially in a constrained economic environment like ours, where revenues are not flowing as expected. Without this revenue flow, organizations are not able to finance many of their activities, including human resources, such as training. Training is an expensive component in human resource, and only organizations that are endowed can initiate training programs. And then the other one is alignment issues, where there is a drift or lack of fit with the business objectives. When there is such a drift, then that means that the HR function is not working with the business leaders, and that becomes a challenge in business partnership. The last one is communication gaps, where we are saying that if there is no effective communication among the partners, because we are talking about human resource business partnership among the partners, then we may not perform effectively. So there is need for regular, accurate, and adequate communications so that we can work effectively as business partners. What are the success factors for us to become human resource business partners? Number one is credibility, where we say that we must gain the trust of all the partners. And how do we gain that trust? One, being transparent, that's being honest. Two, regular communications. And three, involvement and consultation. Another success factor is influence. Are we able to influence other partners to agree with us or implement a HR initiative? Our influence can arise from what we do and the results we produce. So if we cannot produce results, or if we don't do the right things in the right way, then we cannot influence anybody. Again, I will refer you to the role of HR business partners as consultants. We must use our expertise to influence decision-making. Our expertise comes from deep understanding of our roles, of our functions, and of our business. That is business acumen. That's the only way we can influence decisions. The other success factor is ability to change or adjust quickly to changes in our environment. I indicated earlier that our systems, processes, strategies must also change. We must adjust. So how do we adjust? One, ensure that we continuously monitor changes in our environment. And two, we benchmark with others who are best of class in the industry. And when we see any new changes or best practices, we should be able to embrace them. Another success factor is analytical skills. We are able to collect, analyze, and interpret data. Relationship building. We said that human resource business partnership is the relational. We must cultivate a working relationship through constant communication, constant involvement and consultation, and regular meetings. Lastly is being proactive. And like I indicated, we are proactive people because we are able to foresee the future, even if not accurately, but we are able to forecast possible changes in the future and then taking initiatives to ensure that we face that future with confidence. The last part of our discussion this morning is building trust and partnership development. I've mentioned a number of ways in which we can build trust, and it will not hurt anybody to have a look at them again. For us to understand what is this trust building, we can define it as confidence in a partner. Trust is confidence in a partner, confident that they are able to do the right things in the right way at the right time. With that confidence, we are able to work together. Otherwise, without that trust, confidence escapes, and then we start suspecting each other. We do not want to start suspecting. So how do we go about building that trust? One, we must be reliable, producing the same result yesterday, today, or even better results. We must be predictable, reliability. And when we have promised anything, we must deliver on our promises. Secondly is honesty. We are always ready and willing to tell the truth. No cover up in any of the things that we do. If the department is not doing well from an employee satisfaction survey, we must honestly present the facts as they are. Then ethical behavior, we must treat people as human beings. We must respect them. And we also ensure that we do not cheat in anything that we do. What is the purpose of trust building? Is to promote or establish collaboration with our partners. That unless we build that trust, there will be no collaboration. People work together because they can trust each other. Otherwise, without that trust, nothing much can be achieved. People will be working separately because they don't trust each other. What is the purpose or importance, or the importance of trust building? One, it strengthens the relationship between HR and their partners, that relationship. Like I said at the beginning, a strong relationship is characterized by the following. One, mutual respect. Two, communication. And three, teamwork. Without this good relationship, there will be many conflicts, and the performance of employees may reduce. Then what is the coverage of trust building? It applies to internal teams, that's cross functions, to external partners like trainers, consultants, and other organizations, and three, community stakeholders. These are either organizations within the community, such as civil society, or religious organizations. We should be able to work together. Why? Because when we are doing employee resourcing, we can always get in touch with these community stakeholders. They can give us some of the potential employees that we can hire. We can also work within community, especially in CSR activities. So if there are CSR initiatives, we can work with community stakeholders. What is the focus of trust building? Four things. One, transparency. Two, credibility. Three, accountability. And four, consistent engagement. As it were, transparency is about being open with the information so that we don't hide anything. Credibility is being trusted or able to, believed in. If people cannot believe in us, then we are not credible. We should be who we are, act the way we are. If we act differently or pretend to be something, then we lose credibility. Accountability is being answerable. Consistency, like I mentioned, is about being reliable. What is the outcome of trust building? Is a sustainable long-term relationship. That this partnership should not be short-term. It should be long-term. Individuals can come and go, but systems and institutions are here to stay. So we must develop a system which promotes this long-term partnership, where we are developing, for example, communities of practice. Communities of practice are forums where people from different departments and sections come together to share their experiences, to share their knowledge, to share their skills. And that will promote trust in our organization. What are the steps or actions that we can take to build trust? Actions. One, open communication, which I said we should not hide anything and therefore share ideas clearly, listen to what others have to say, and provide feedback. When people get feedback on how well they are doing, then they get motivated or are able to identify their areas of weakness and can improve. Secondly, we deliver on our promises. If we have promised anything, we should be able to deliver on it. Otherwise, if we want to lose trust, do not deliver. You will be called all manner of names. You are a liar. You are not reliable and all that. The other way of building trust is mutual respect, where you consider other people's opinions as important, even if they may not be implemented, but they are important all the same. Reliability, that we are dependable when it comes to recruitment, training, performance management. We can be relied on. For what reason? That we are able to give other departments the right quality of employees. If it is training, we are able to initiate training programs based on training needs. And this is how we can build confidence. Transparency is about being honest or open. Like I have indicated before, do not hide anything. Open communication. Share ideas in an open manner. There should be no trump cards below the table. We should always put everything on the table and discuss them openly. Lastly is empathy, which is one of the soft skills that HR partners must have. So when we empathize, we put ourselves in the shoe of the other, and that calls for understanding. So if there is a department that does not understand what goes on in HR, please understand them because they don't have HR background. But through and through, they are able to understand you if you are patient with them. Next is the role or importance of trust in HR partnership. One is that there is improved collaboration, that we are able to work together to improve our results, reduce resistance. As I mentioned, some of the initiatives in HR could portend changes and the people can resist. So how we manage this change will help us to build that trust. Enhanced engagement where employees are connected and emotionally committed to the organization. So we can build trust so that employees get connected. Decision making is another importance of trust building, that when we work with others collaboratively, we are able to make effective decisions. Effective decisions have three main characteristics. One, they are acceptable. Two, they are relevant. And three, they are data-driven. That when we work together with others, we collect data, insights. So we make effective decisions that are balanced. It's not that it's coming from HR alone, but it's something that comes from everybody, and therefore the decisions are balanced. Organizational cohesion is another importance where people work together. Where there is no cohesion, then there is conflict. We want to work as a unity or as a team. So everybody must be brought on board when it comes to HR initiatives. And lastly is crisis management. A crisis is anything that can cause a disruption, such as exit of an employee or key employees. But when we work in partnership with others, we are able to bring on board those employees who have left or have people to stand in the interim period between exit and finding a suitable replacement. What are the skills for building effective partnership? Some of them I've mentioned before. One is active listening, is under communication. Listen to everybody, take note of what they have to say, and also ask questions for clarification. Influencing skills is where we are saying that we are consultants, we are the experts, and we can persuade others to support our HR recommendations. Negotiation skills is where you are able to discuss issues and convince others. And how do you do that? Is by talking about the benefits that are likely to be derived from the HR initiatives so that people can buy in into our recommendations. Communication is another skill where we communicate clearly, accurately, and in a relevant manner. Empowerment is where we make decisions jointly. We empower others to make decisions. So we can empower employees to make certain decisions, and those that cannot be made by junior staff, they can be referred. Lastly is emotional intelligence, where we are able to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in ourselves and in others. And what does this call for? Four things. One, self-awareness of our emotions. Two, self-control of our emotions. Three, social awareness of other people's emotions. And lastly, social control or management, managing other people's emotions. We mentioned challenges earlier. How do we overcome those challenges? If there is an element of trust, we must create credibility through transparency, integrity, and a consistent delivery. It's a question of resource constraints. We should be ready and willing to share the little resources that we have around us. If there are communication gaps, we must establish clear channels of communication, especially written communication, either through emails, through reports, or through minutes. Then when there are misaligned goals, we must identify areas of incongruence and then make efforts to ensure that our HR initiatives are aligned with the corporate objectives. And how do we do that? We conduct a HR audit. Audit in terms of recruitment, training, performance, and others with respect to policies, procedures, and systems. How do we manage resistance to change? We must manage expectations. Sometimes employees have very high expectations, or other partners have very high expectations. So if we can manage expectations from the beginning through those managerial meetings, the better for us. And then we can manage resistance by building consensus. Though it's not possible to achieve 100% consensus, but as they say, wengi wape kwa Kiswahili, and that is democracy, where the majority carried the day. So if the majority are buying into our initiatives, then we should celebrate ourselves. Where there are cultural differences, we must embrace diversity by respecting other people's cultural values. Capacity building for successful HR partnership. I've mentioned some of them, like skill development, where we are training our partners so that they are able to work with us. Secondly, knowledge sharing. And I will invite us to be on the lookout for some of our courses, such as certified knowledge management, where we are talking about effective knowledge sharing. And you can use this as a KPI to ensure that people are able to learn from one another. Through what? Through workshops, through mentorship, and peer learning. Leadership coaching is another way of building capacity so that we equip our business partners with skills and knowledge that they become influencers or advisors. Embedding technology into our processes and systems is another way, so that as HR managers, we are technology savvy. We all agree that technology is revolutionizing the way we do things, including recruitment, training, and others. And therefore, we should be able to automate some of these processes. For example, in recruitment and selection, we can automate that by using ATS, that is automated tracking system. It makes our work easier and cost-effective. We also train people on how to manage change so that change cannot be resisted. Performance support, where there are partners who are not performing well, provide them with support, either by way of training, by way of buddy system, coaching, and mentorship. How do we implement HR business partnering? It is by way of strategic planning, which I said that for us to become business partners, we need to be part of the strategic team. Stakeholder engagement, let everybody be brought on board so that we move together as a team. Nobody should be left behind. All departments, all sections, all units, all individuals must be brought on board. Capacity building is about training. So you train people so that they can acquire skills related to what we have just mentioned. If I may go back there, skills such as listening, negotiation, communication, and emotional intelligence. Those are skills that we can build among our partners. And secondly, rather not secondly, but second last, we pilot test this partnering process. Sometimes it's not possible to bring everybody on board. We may start small by way of having a conversation within our own department and then reach out to others so that we can get the buy-in of everybody. Performance monitoring, it's always good to monitor the performance of this business partnership so that we are always on track. That feedback gives us insights on our strengths and weaknesses, as well as areas of improvement. Then continuous learning, there must be lessons learned from everything that we do. If it's a business partnership that we have done in recruitment and selection, what can we learn after recruitment and selection through this partnership? How do we measure partnership success? One is value creation. What are the results that we produce after partnership? Two, the trust levels. We can conduct surveys to find out whether other partners trust the HR department or even other partners. Performance metrics, where we are setting SMART objectives as well as KPIs. We measure performance based on outcomes. Satisfaction level, which also mirrors the trust levels, is the perception of other partners in regard to this collaboration. High levels of satisfaction shows that the partnership has succeeded. Low levels shows the vice versa. Sustainability, we are talking about how long can we work together as partners. So you can look at the challenges that the partners are facing and ensuring that we remove the obstacles. And lastly is continuous feedback, where we get feedback on how we are doing as partners. Nothing should be left to chance. We should always be on top of our game by ensuring that we work together as a team and always. How do we ensure that we sustain this partnership for a long time so that it doesn't break up? Just like a marriage, marriages can break up if they are not sustainable. One is continuous communication. Like I said, that communication is the fabric that unites people. We can unite ourselves as partners through effective communication. Monitoring and evaluation, that is tracking our performance or progress on a regular basis. Adaptability, we said that HR managers should adapt agility, agile strategies, agile policies, agile systems, so that we are able to adapt to changes. Conflict resolution, because when people are working together in partnership, there is always bound to be conflicts, differences in opinions, differences in approach, differences in objectives, and even competition for resources. When such conflicts arise, they might break this partnership. There must be mechanisms for conflict resolution. Then we must celebrate success, even if there are those small wins. We should celebrate by rewarding ourselves for successes that we have recorded. And lastly is long-term commitment so that we can sustain that trust. On that note, I want us to now ask any questions related to what we have covered this morning by way of questions and answers so that we can close for this morning. The floor is open to all of us. Please ask your question or make your comment so that we can close. The floor is ours. Alice, if you are there, you can ask your question or make your comment. Apparently, there is no question, there is no comment. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your participation. I look forward to seeing you again in the afternoon for yet another insightful session. Bye for now. Thank you.